And live, Giada, we did it. I was the last time. I don't know. I made some mistake with the agenda, and I thought, oh my gosh, I lost Giada de Laurentis forever. But we did it, and we're back.
We did it. We made it happen. I'm excited to be here, Marco. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks so much. And how is the situation in Los Angeles with this pandemic, COVID, and everything?
Well, actually, it's getting better. We've started to open indoor dining at 25%. For a while, Marco, we were yo-yoing back and forth. We'd open, we'd close. We'd open, we'd close. So we just came off of a long closure of about 8 weeks with no restaurants, not even outdoor dining. And, living in Los Angeles, outdoor dining is sort of the thing we look forward to the most because it's so nice and warm here. So we had nothing. So now all the restaurants are open, indoor and outdoor, at a certain percentage, different depending on the city you live in. But the state of California is opening up, and it's, everybody is out. Traffic is back to the way it was before the pandemic.
Wow.
My daughter just started school last Thursday, finally, after a year of being virtual. So, things are looking up. People are getting vaccinated. I don't know how it is in the UK if you guys have as many people vaccinated, but we are really
you're running. Wow, fantastic. That's great to hear, Giada. In UK, I have to say, in Italy, the situation is not good. With my fellow Italian friends, unfortunately.
My family's already warned me about Italy. I don't know when the next time I will be able to go there. I think.
Yeah, Italy is not really good. But in UK, after 1 year so, we had this vaccination running very fast. And I think I'll get vaccinated next month, something like that. So it looks good. It looks good. I hope it will be better. But in the meantime, Giada, during the pandemic, everyone tried to become a chef.
Yes.
That's except
agreed. Yes.
So I really need your help. And I also know that you are out with your new book. I really need your help because my wife the other night called me in a corner and said, look, we need to talk. You can't cook, like zero, nothing. And I say, well, actually, I can cook spaghetti, so and so. That's my only dish. And she said, yeah, but the kids, they don't like it.
Oh.
So, well, then it's a big problem because there is nothing else.
All kids like spaghetti, Marco.
That's what I said. I mean, everyone likes spaghetti, but I don't know. My kids, the idea that I cook, they immediately think, that's rubbish. So I have to improve my game. What should I do? Starting with your new book, what are the next steps for someone that is not really good?
Well, I would say that if you really don't like to cook and don't spend a lot of time in the kitchen, you might just want to assemble dishes. And this cookbook, my new cookbook, is a little bit different because it's a little bit more of clean eating, especially coming off of the pandemic. I wrote it. It's been sort of a 10-year health journey for me because I was not well right after I had my daughter, who's now 13. I wasn't feeling very well, and I traveled and worked a lot, and I had horrible chronic sinus infection. So I was on antibiotics for years on end, and I think that all of that sort of took a toll on my body. So I wrote a book about more clean eating. Now it still has pasta in it. So we definitely still have pasta. For a lot of people, especially in the US, who have issues with gluten, I have gluten-free pastas. But for me, I'm as long as I keep it sort of at a minimum, I'm okay eating pasta. I can't eat it every day, but I can certainly eat regular pasta. So these recipes have pasta, but they're sort of limited in the sense of, you guys in the UK and Europe, you eat less of things. You know what I mean? In America, we eat giant portions. It's like an all-you-can-eat sort of scenario. So I'm trying to teach people that you can have all these, pasta and dairy and sugar, but they have to be done in small amounts. So my pasta dishes, less pasta, more sauce. So more greens in the sauces. My daughter loves roasted vegetables that are in here, like roasted broccoli. I don't know if your kids eat vegetables. Not all kids do. But there's a pasta in here.
I try to push them, and give them a reward if they do it.
So if you cut up a bunch of broccoli, okay, you put it on a baking sheet in the oven at 450. olive oil, salt, and some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano over the top. Bake it.
Right.
The Parmesan cheese melts over the broccoli, and it becomes more of an indulgent treat where they don't see it so much as just a boiled vegetable. But I have a pasta in my book with mushrooms and pistachios, paccheri with mushrooms and pistachios that my daughter loves, if your kids eat mushrooms. But, my daughter is a little bit more advanced in that way. I also have pasta with pesto and green beans. So I try to change it up, but this is a little bit healthier than the traditional kid food.
Yeah, it's crazy how I have 4 kids, and in Britain, the idea of when there is a birthday, for instance, they give just burger and chips. That's it. That's the standard food for kids. And I always think, wow, that's really not healthy at all. And especially now, I mean, that we are more aware about the importance of eating healthy stuff is still, I mean, in Britain it's like that. In Italy it's much better because at least pasta maybe is the way it is, or pasta and pizza are not really, I wouldn't say they are really healthy, but at least we have vegetable, fruit and all.
In Italy, Marco, we don't eat pasta and pizza every day.
Yeah,
we
sure.
Pasta and pizza, but it's not, and maybe they have pasta every day, but it's usually with a lot of other things. So it's not like I made a bowl of pasta and that's it. You have a little bit of pasta, then you have some meat or some chicken or something, and you have vegetables. It's folded into a bigger sort of menu of foods. It's not just pasta. It's different than it is in America, where it's pasta for dinner, that's all you get. And so you're going to eat more of it. It's a different way of relating to food and ingredients. And I think the UK and America is very similar in the way they think of food and the way they relate their relationship to food than it is in other parts of the world. Also, I think Italy has, they have a little bit of cleaner ingredients. They don't have as many pesticides. They don't have as much processed things as we consume in the US. So that's why I think the relationship is a little bit different.
Absolutely. I'm going to test your Italian now, Giada, because you say Parmigiano Reggiano in a way that only Italians can say, but I have a comment here. Daniele say, sono stato nel suo ristorante a Las Vegas dove lavoro mio carissimo amico, spettacolare, which means he was in your Las Vegas restaurant and where his friend works, and he say, that's spectacular, I don't know, where is it? I've never been there.
Las Vegas on the Strip. At the Cromwell. So it's across the street from Caesar's Palace and diagonally across the street from the Bellagio. So where the Bellagio fountains are, that iconic fountain that you see? Well, we're directly sort of perpendicular to it, and we have a view of those fountains. So we open all of our windows, so you're suspended over the Strip, and you see all of those fountains going off all the time. It's quite stunning. We built it from scratch about 6 years ago. It was a parking garage. And so we leveled the 2-floor parking garage and we turned it into a restaurant with the kitchen. So I got to build my own restaurant, my own kitchen from scratch on the Las Vegas Strip. It's pretty much unheard of. So
incredible.
It's super exciting. And I think it's a very special place. It really is. And I have these wood-burning ovens that we make pizza and bread in, and a huge antipasto bar when you first walk into the restaurant. So the first thing you see is not a bar with alcohol, it's food. And you smell the pizza being made, and you smell the bread baking. And I think it overwhelms people, and it's very inviting and kind of feels like my living room. So people love it.
Fantastic. You see, like in the chat, like 3 people already been there. So I thought, wow, that's incredible. And I've never been there. How was the pandemic? How did the pandemic hit the restaurants? Are they open again now? They will reopen? What's the situation?
So the pandemic, unfortunately, shut Las Vegas down completely. And for a time, nothing was open. It was a ghost town. I don't think that's probably ever happened in the history of Las Vegas since it's opened. So nothing was open. And then slowly last May, we started to open up a little bit. But the problem is with Las Vegas, it's a very international city. And so without international travelers coming in, the occupancy level was very low. So a lot of hotels were forced to shut down. They just can't be open. So they furloughed a lot of their employees. The good part about the employees is that most of them are union workers. So the union has a nice chunk of support money-wise that they could carry these people through, so they weren't going to just not go with a paycheck, which happens to independent restaurant owners. There is nothing. So if you're not working, you're not making money. So luckily, Las Vegas, we were able to support the staff, even though they weren't working. But so the summer was rough. We went through opening and closing and opening and closing. September started to level off a little bit. We closed down again because we're usually pretty slow during the holidays. A lot of locals and people traveling in from the surrounding states. So that would be Nevada, Arizona, California, a little bit. And then now in the last, I'd say, month, we have started to see a lot more. We're a lot busier. Yeah. But conventions are big for us in the week, during the weekdays. So without the conventions, we've only got Fridays and Saturdays. That's it.
Right. Got it.
It's been rough.
But hopefully it will start to improve again. My prediction is that probably this summer, starting this summer, things will start to go back.
Well, at least for us in the US, I think that the more people get vaccinated, yes, things will start to open. And I think that Americans will stay within our borders. They won't travel abroad so much because I don't think that we know when we can really do that yet until other countries get vaccinated. So there'll be more business within the US. So that means Las Vegas will be busy.
Yeah, like internal tourism.
Yes.
Giada, I was chatting the other day with a friend of mine, Massimo Bottura.
Massimo. He's so famous. It's so great.
And I asked him, Massimo, come on, teach me some recipe that I have to impress my wife. And he said, yeah, come on, an easy one. And then he started to speak. And I said, look, man, I lost you. It feels like a mathematical algorithm. I don't know. And I lost you after 3 seconds. So my question is, how do you keep up with all of this? There are so many recipes and innovations in cooking and chefs and trends. How do you keep up with everything? And how do you position yourself? You keep your brand always relevant with this changing also social media, new people coming. What's your approach to this? That's, to me, it looks like chaos, and for you it looks easy because you're super good. But what's your approach?
I think it definitely is chaotic. I think there are a lot of people in my world now that maybe weren't there even 5 years ago. I think social media has played a big part of that. And, for me personally, I try to stick to the brand that I built. It's very family oriented. It has a lot to do with the roots of my own family in Italy. So that's unique to me. And I try to build on that. And for me, it's about simplicity. Massimo is a phenomenal chef, but his recipes are not simple. And that's what makes him special, right? So for me, it's about being simplistic and bringing it back down to the basics of the way my grandmother used to cook and my great-grandparents, and going back to the roots of where my family's from, which is Naples. My grandfather's family had a pasta factory before World War II, pastas and sauces. So I kind of stick to the basics of Italian cooking and give it a more feminine sort of spin to it. Very homey, very motherly, sexy. I try to make it as sexy and pretty as possible with the photos and the way I do things, and kind of keep it relevant. And I have to say, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and she keeps me updated on social media and what's changing. And TikTok is huge here in America. So I try to do TikTok videos. I think the trick for someone like me is that I've been doing it for a long time, and staying relevant is difficult. And I think you have to evolve. And that's why with every book that I write, it's a different journey, right? As we get older, our journeys change and the things we learn change. So this book is sort of an evolution of where I've come from and where I've landed now that I'm 50. So, listening, learning, reading, paying attention to the youth, and kind of staying true to who I am and my beliefs. And and Marco, I try never to compete with people like Massimo. I know better. I can't compete with them.
I mean,
But
no one can compete with Massimo. He has like crazy things that does, so it's like impossible.
But that's what makes him so special and unique. And I think you have to learn in this life what makes us special and unique and stick to it. And don't try to be like everyone else, because, that doesn't work. That's not how you're going to stand out. So it took me a while to figure that out. But, at 50, it's kind of fascinating to try to sort of reinvent yourself each time, but it's also a lot of fun. And so that's where I try to keep it. And eventually, Marco, I won't be relevant anymore. As we all grow older, other people step, in our place, and that's okay too. But I think there's room for all of us. All of us crazy people.
I tell you from the comments 2 things. First, you'll always be relevant, Giada. And second, people do not believe you're 50. You are probably 32. That this is the average.
Marco? We're on a computer, and it just kind of blows you out a little bit.
What do you think is the main takeaway from your new book? Is there is a specific message of course, eating healthy, feeling good in this specific period? Because I just want to give you this feedback. I saw with my wife during this. It's basically 1 year we've been in lockdown, more or less. Yeah. Now the school reopened. Think about this, Giada. The school reopened 10 days ago, and in 2 days, kids will stay at home for 3 weeks and a half for the Easter holidays. So you think, oh my gosh, they just went back to school and now they go back home. Anyway, during this year, I saw my wife really going into cooking, because you're there and someone has to cook, and you try, to order this Deliveroo or whatever, but after a while, you really feel it's not healthy, like it's burgers or fast food, whatever you order.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable. So she started to cook, and she found some, like the British chef that resonate with her, and I saw they were really inspiring. It was not only about cooking; it was about the family and taking time to prepare. So it's a completely different level, and it's about being healthy. So I wonder what was the takeaway from your new book?
I think for me in my new book, the main takeaway is that you have to listen to your gut, literally listen to your gut. And when you aren't feeling well, try to figure out what things really affect you negatively. And it takes time to do that because you have to sort of eliminate things to figure it out. But a really nice way to do it is to do a 3-day reboot, which I have in my book, where you kind of cut out all processed food, all sugar, alcohol, dairy, the whole thing for 3 days. It's food. It's not just liquids. It's actual food, like salmon and vegetables and quinoa, things of that nature. But for 3 days, no processed foods, which means nothing jarred, basically nothing that's prepackaged, right? Even, almond milk is popular here, almond butter. You have to make them yourself or just eliminate them for 3 days and basically cook your meals, but very simplistic. There's no Massimo Bottura culinary experience here. This is the basics of eating. And you do that for 3 days, and then you slowly start to reintroduce things like dairy and sugar and stuff like that, and see how it feels. Like, do you feel a little bit more bloated, or do you have headaches, or do you have congestion? Any of those things are triggers that tell you your body doesn't really like what you're giving it. And just start to figure what it is, and then just limit it. I'm not saying cut it out completely forever, but maybe a little bit less to help your body so that you're not so inflamed. Because I think inflammation is the problem that we all have. And when it goes untreated and unattended to for too long, you end up with really bad chronic diseases. Sometimes, it puts you out completely. So it's important.
Giada, it's interesting that I recently interviewed, are you familiar with Wim Hof, the Iceman? Yeah, I've interviewed him.
Method, yeah.
Yeah, and doing
pretty insane.
Cold showers and I've interviewed him.
And I think he even says you don't have to take a cold shower the whole time. If the last 2 minutes of your shower are cold, that alone, it just triggers your immune system. Yeah. And it's little things like that that can really change your life. Like I started during the pandemic, go in the jacuzzi, 102 degrees, and then go in my really cold pool and do a cold plunge. And if I could sit there for 2 minutes and then work my way to 5 minutes. And it really resets.
5 minutes is a long time.
No, but the thing is, Marco, you're already warmed up from the jacuzzi, right?
Right.
So you're already warm. So think about the first 2 or 3 minutes, you're thawing out. Like you're so hot that it's cooling you down. It's the last 2 to 2.5 minutes that you're starting to think, okay, now I'm getting cold. But it resets your system the way that you would shut your computer and allow it to reboot. Yeah. It's the same idea, or turning off your phone for a couple minutes and then you turn it back on and all of a sudden your phone works unbelievably well. So it's the same thing with your system. It's kind of finding those little tips and tricks that really help you. But the thing is, Marco, we're all very different. So some things help me and, some things are better for other people. But even as simple as instead of eating Parmigiano Reggiano, because you have sensitivities to cow's milk, you try pecorino, sheep's milk. Right. Easier to digest. It's easier on the system. So little things like that in my book that are small changes, but over a long period of time can really bring down all of the inflammation and help you feel better.
I love it.
Feeling better as you get older.
Do you keep, before the pandemic, did you travel sometimes to Italy? Did you keep a connection? Because obviously you have an incredible surname that all Italians know, because it was your grandfather.
My grandfather was Dino De Laurentis, and my grandmother was
producer. Yeah. Legendary.
Yeah. So yes, of course. In fact, I just before the pandemic had finished a 4-episode show with a friend of mine who's on the Food Network as well, Bobby Flay, in Italy. So yeah, I spent a month and change there. And I spent a lot of time there. My mother lived there for 7 years. The pandemic made her running back. She came running back to LA, but she'd been there for 7 years. So I'd go often to visit her, and I have a lot of my cousins and my family. My mother lived in Rome, and a lot of my immediate family is in Rome. I have some family in Naples and some family up in Milan, but the majority of them live in Rome, where I was born.
Got it. Fantastic. I lived in Rome 1.5 years. I'm originally from Milan, and then I lived in Rome 1.5 years, and then I moved in UK. And Rome, sometimes during this pandemic, I miss Rome food dramatically. Sometimes I really like. Oh my God.
As you know well, Roman food and Milanese food are different. They're different types of food. Yeah. Still, Americans don't realize that depending on where you go in Italy, it's not all just like pizza and, yes, there's pizza, but it's different wherever you go.
Absolutely. So. Giada, it was such a pleasure to chat with you. I really wish you good luck for your new book. And by the way, how did you promote it during the pandemic? Are the bookstores shut down, or they will reopen? How does it work?
The bookstores have reopened, but a lot of the book sales are through Amazon these days here in the US. Most people order books through Amazon, but yes, bookstores have reopened now. And mostly I did it like this, Marco. A lot of chats just like this, virtual chats and virtual cooking demos, and everything was virtual. I think I only went into one show, Ellen DeGeneres. That's it. That's the only show I actually walked into. Other than that, it's all like this, Marco.
But better than nothing, Giada. And it was such a pleasure to chat with you. So keep in touch. And as soon as you are in Italy, we have to meet and for a cooking session to learn at least one dish.
I would love it. Thank you so much, Marco. Thank you for your time.
I'll see you soon. Bye.